Miss A got a lot to say on all the things we go through within the day. Politics, dating, recipes, traveling, and yep, of course, I'm the karaoke queen. I take no L's, I'm always booking flights. This is my lovely lunatic Leo life. Kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? This is my lovely lunatic Leo life. Kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? The one and only S.A. Welcome everybody to my lovely Lunatic Leo Life podcast. It's the one and only Miss A, and this is season 3, episode 2, and I hope you guys enjoy season 2. This is going to be a brand new season. I have a whole bunch of special guests, especially one today for my second episode, Mrs. Brenda Hargroves. Welcome so much, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and this is special because this is her first time being interviewed on a podcast or a radio show. So I am... I don't know what I am, but I'm the first person whose show you've been on. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, I do too.
All right. So Miss Brenda Hargroves, she's an entrepreneur, she's a blogger, and she's an author. She's the author of The Heart and Soul of Entrepreneurship, correct?
Right.
And I saw you said something that you're an edupreneur. What exactly is an edupreneur?
Well, I kind of look at myself as I am an entrepreneur, but I find myself, I have this teaching mode about me, so that's how the edu came in.
Okay.
So an edupreneur is an entrepreneur that kind of teaches and shows people. I've done a lot of things, and I really try to, especially with younger people, I try to guide them in the direction of doing some things that are really getting them in the right direction of doing some things.
As far as financially or
starting a business. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been an executive director for nonprofits, so I've got a lot of nonprofit experience. I had 2 small businesses.
Wow.
And the finance part was mostly from my personal experience, but then I also did some grant proposal writing for a while, and the organization that I wrote a grant for, we got a grant for someone to do a financial literacy course for struggling families. And I had never done that before, but I spent the summer putting the curriculum together and ended up teaching this class for 7 years.
Wow.
So I got a lot of good information and was able to pass on a lot of information too.
Now, did you ever see yourself getting to this point? What is it that you wanted to do back in the day? Like, where did you think you would be teaching financial literacy and helping people get their lives together?
No, I never thought that what I would be, but I am my father's child. My father probably had every kind of job there is, and he retired, and then when he retired, he'd go to another job, and his application would say, well, how long were you here? I was here 5 years. Why did you leave? I retired. Then he goes to another job, 7 years. Why did you leave? I retired.
Wait, when you say retire, you mean quit or?
No, well, yeah, kind of stopped because you were going to not be working anymore, but you ended. Working to this point was not my intention. Because I planned my life to be able to retire at a relatively young age, but I just never did it. I just kept ending up doing a lot of other different things. So I've taught. Like I said, I was an executive director I started a nonprofit and ran that for a while in New Jersey. Okay. And then I moved to Florida, and I saw the need there, so we started it in Florida, and I did that. I started out, my first business was a, my husband used to call it a garbage picker. I did refurnishing furniture. And then I had a friend of mine who did a lot of weaving and caning, so he taught me how to do that. Oh, wow. I incorporated that in some of the things that I did. I only did that for about 3 years because then I realized that you really shouldn't be around those fumes for so long. So okay. I stopped doing that for a while. But I've had a lot of jobs. I've done a lot of different things.
Wow, a jack of all trades.
A
Jill, yeah. I was trying to think. I was going to say Jackass or a Jill of all trades. Wow, that's amazing. And then, so what led you to want to help people financially, like?
Well, that came through the grant proposal that I wrote, and then so I developed this curriculum, and then the thing I really liked about it was really basically working with a lot of young mothers or mothers to be, and it was that's a time when you really need to be able to learn how to manage your finances.
Yeah.
So, and I found that very, very rewarding. So I enjoyed doing that. I did it part-time. It was a part-time position, and that was perfect for me because I don't really consider myself retired. I consider myself semi-retired. Okay. So I want to do something. So I did that for about 7 years, and then after that period of time, the funder for the nonprofit decided that they wanted the position to be full-time.
Okay.
And I didn't want to work full-time. So I had to let that one go and move on to something else. And then that was around when the pandemic started. And I had started writing a book about 20 years ago, I guess it was. And I pick it up, put it down, pick it up. So when the pandemic came, I picked it up and I finished it.
Wow.
So I decided that I was going to have the next bestseller. I didn't know anything about the process, which I've learned now, which is it's a very difficult process. You have to find an agent. You have to learn how to do a query letter. You have to do a synopsis. There's just a lot of things that you have to do before you can get a book published. Mm-hmm. So that was like going back to school for me. So I ended up joining a writing group and just kind of learning the process, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing now. And they also they teach you that you're supposed to be writing more than one thing, so I kind of started another book. Then I decided I wanted to do the blog, so I started the blog. And the blog is just a mishmash of stuff. I talk about your finances, I do some entrepreneurship stuff, I do nonprofit, and then I have my favorite, which is going off track when I talk about anything.
Any and everything. Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned the pandemic, because the pandemic is what actually got me starting to edit videos. A lot of people picked up a lot of stuff during the pandemic, and I used to I love to travel, so I used to always do it on my Instagram stories. I just post, not even do anything, I just post the picture. I don't edit nothing. Mm-hmm. And then people are like, I love watching your stories. I'm like, it would be nice to start doing actual vlogs, and like I seen on YouTube, because I was watching people before I go to that country. I would watch people. Mm-hmm. So then I bought a software. When I first looked at it, it looked like gibberish. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Yeah. But I just kept playing with it. And now, 2 years later, I'm really good at it. And that's without even going to YouTube classes yet. But I know if I do start going to classes, I would be so much more better at it.
Yeah.
And then
efficient. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just love that people picked up a lot of things, and they even quit their job because what they picked up from what they learned. So you picked that up. You started writing a book, or more than one. Writing a lot, I'll say.
And doing the blog, and I think my focus, I really like working with younger people, and now I've decided that I really want to concentrate on millennials.
Okay.
So the things that I'm trying to put out there are really for their benefit. And I don't have any children, but I have 3 young ladies in my life. They're all millennials, and they're what keep me going.
They're your children. Now, millennials. Am I a millennial? I'm 40.
You're just there.
All right. So does that mean I'm not included? Because I need your help, please.
You are included. You are definitely included.
I definitely need your help.
As a matter of fact, my godchild is 40, and she's a millennial, so yeah.
Okay. I don't know when the millennial starts. I like Y2K.
I didn't either, but then it just seemed that age group seems to be, I never really liked babies. I've always, they have to get a little older for me too. I have 3 godchildren, and I really started to appreciate all of them as they got to be teenagers and older.
That's when you like them most, when they were a bit older.
Yeah.
Now back to your book writing. I'm interested in that because I'm also, I put it down, but when you said 20 years, that shocked me, because I was getting on myself for starting this book about maybe 5 years ago, and I'm like on the first chapter.
How many people take a long time to write a book?
I could have sworn in the beginning of this year, I was going to finish this book. I had a whole plan. New Year's Eve, I was going to just get my mind right and write my book, because I think I did 3 chapters already in that book, and it's going to be a 3-book memoir about my life, like the last 10 years of my life. Mm-hmm. So I was pumped. It was New Year's Eve. I ended up doing New Year's Eve things, and and I didn't finish. And then as the months came along, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 1,000 words a day or something like that. And then I even got a writing accountability partner. We'd meet up once a week, we'd talk, and it just started to dwindle down until I'm like, you know what, let me just work on my podcast. So I put the book back down again, but I'm gonna pick it back up again. Like, I'm motivated to do so.
Well, I think you can only write when you are motivated.
Yeah,
You know?
because
And this book that I start, actually the first book that I wrote, I self-published it. It was on the one on entrepreneurship. And what it was is a series of, I just interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs and, and asked them all the same questions. And then I kind of put all their answers together and combined it to things that, I wanted to add to that. I don't want to self-publish my next book. I want it to be traditionally published by a publisher, which means you've got to go through the process, and it is a process.
I've heard this lady who took 4
process,
years.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about self-published.
It can even, because the thing that I've learned is in the process is that you never stop editing. You just edit every time. You just go over it. This book that I wrote, I finished writing it about 2 years ago. I'm still editing it.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have other people read it and they give you, suggestions and things that, you really don't, because I'm not an author.
Right.
I just kind of fell into this.
Right.
So it's been an interesting experience. And the thing that my thing is, I just want to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about writing that they try to push on you is that you have to have you have to have conflict and you have to have all these, and I'm like,
to keep people interested.
Right. And I just want to tell this story. That's what I want to do. So I've been trying to figure out ways, and this thing about what I'm writing now is that it's basically based on something that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, the conflict part, I can tell you the story, but the conflict was like, okay, I have to beef this up a little bit. Right.
I embellished quite a few things too.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do what you got to do, right?
You got to do what you got to do.
Shoot, I'm gonna do it too.
But out of that came another. Actually, I wrote a short story, and it was picked up as a finalist for a contest. And what you won as a finalist was a 12-week period where you met with other authors and talked about things that you write. And the idea of the contest was that you were supposed to write a chapter that was going to be the beginning of the book. I didn't do that. That wasn't I wrote the story just because I wrote it. And then I said, I'll just enter this and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And then by doing that and coming in as a finalist, then I was able to participate in this class. And out of that came an idea for another story that I'm trying to write now. But you get distracted. You start doing things and then you start something else, and then I started that other book, and then I decided, well, I really want to work on my podcast, so I've been working on that, on the blog, and so it's really a bit overwhelming, to be honest with you, because it's like, how did I get into this? It was not my intention to do all of this, but it's just working out that way, and then I have people pushing me, so. That's
good. Sometimes you need a little push, an aggressive push from somebody we know. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I know how she is. No offense, I still love you, girl. Now, it seems like you do so much work and you're always busy. Do you ever take time to relax or go on vacation? Do you take...
Yeah, I'm really on vacation now because I live in Florida.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
I come to New Jersey. I'm a New Jersey girl. I call myself a New Jersey girl in the Florida world. But I try to come to New Jersey every year. And my plan was to semi-retire and travel. And that was like when the pandemic came along. And so everybody ended up stuck at home. But this year I've been to Atlanta. I went to Chicago. Okay. I've been here and New Jersey, and I think I'm going to go to Mississippi. I have family in Mississippi for Thanksgiving. I haven't really decided. Nice. Next year I want to extend it and do some international travel.
Yes. Have you ever traveled internationally?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness.
I went to the Caribbean, the islands.
Yeah. I mean, that's still something.
Yeah, well, I've done that.
I'm such an advocate for people to travel outside of the country. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked you about traveling. I love to travel. Even when 2020 came, the pandemic, I went to Jamaica, Ghana, and Puerto Rico. Because everything was cheap, and we was getting the Biden money, we was getting unemployment. So I was like, first class, baby, let me go first class to this place. Let me go. But I think it's very important, especially with people who work so much and they do a lot. They do need time for mental break. You know what I mean? Or else you will break yourself. I want to get back to financial literacy because I need you to help me, okay? I had another young lady, Caressa. She's amazing. She was, I think, episode 7 of my season 2, and she talked about some financial literacy too. But it was mainly like getting out of credit card debt, and she also helping people like with buying houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty amazing, but it seems like it takes a lot of patience and work.
Yeah, it does. But my thing I think about with managing your finances is to make it a game. You know, to just challenge yourself to make it a game. And the biggest part, I think the biggest part of your financial literacy is learning how to save. That for me is just, that's the crux of everything. You have to get yourself disciplined enough. And I don't know, for some reason, I've always been a saver. I don't know whether it came from my parents or what happened, but I remember being younger. Like, there's a man that goes around now, and he's so famous for this, talking about his envelope system that he set up. I was doing that when I was a child.
Wow.
You know, you have an envelope. I used to have an envelope for my mother's birthday and my father's birthday.
Oh,
and
wow.
Put $1 in there. Because, you know, this was years ago.
You're responsible.
Just have a little bit of money. Yeah, but it's discipline. But I think it's because I watched my father go through the different things. He did the kind of jobs that he wanted to do, you know, and I was like, I always want to do what I want to do. And I think in order to be able to do that, you have to save. You have to have some kind of so that's my thing. My biggest thing in financial literacy is saving and staying out of debt. Yeah.
I always feel like I need a large lump of sum in order to save. And
Nope.
I've tried to put $100 a check away. Then I keep dipping into the $100. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? And it's me being greedy. It's food. It's clothing. It's dumb stuff. You know what I mean? And vacations too, I'll say. At least I'm not into materialistic and name brands and stuff like that. So I'm proud of myself when it comes to that. But I'm still spending too much money. And I feel like now I'm 40 and I don't want to be in the same boat I've been in the last 20 years. You know what I mean? I want to feel like a grown up now. And my father, it's crazy because he used to work at Black Enterprise magazine for, I think it was almost 20 years he was working there. So they used to have an entrepreneur conference in Florida, and me and my brother used to go to the Kidpreneur conferences. So you would think that for the years that I was going there every year that I would be better. I'd have my own business. I'd be saving. No, I would complain about the cold. I was there for the food, fall asleep, going for Florida. You know what I mean? It's like I learned stuff, but I didn't really apply anything that I've learned. And I kind of regret it now, but you know, it's never too late. People are starting to get, you know, their things in order. And I just want to know, student loans is one of them. Yeah, that's the major one.
I was very fortunate. I was fortunate in the two things. First of all, I didn't have a student loan. I was fortunate enough I got a scholarship, and I got my entire education was paid for in full.
Wow.
Books and everything.
That's good.
So I really didn't have a problem. And then when I went to graduate school, I went at night, and it was at a time period where I was able to pay for it as I went along. So when I graduated, I had paid it off. You can't do that now. So it's a different world.
Hard,
now. It really is. So those were two things that, you know, were very fortunate in my case. And I guess the other thing was that I never had children of my own. So and they're going to be, and if you're going to have a family, then your whole plan is going to be completely different.
That's true.
So.
You're right. And I do want a family. I'm like, I've always wanted a family. I've always wanted kids. But now that I'm 40 and I'm like starting to feel like I'm about to start living my best life, I don't know. And then, like you said, with the financial part, like I'm just about to get my financial life together. Now I'm going to mess it up and have no offense. I don't mean it that I should have said it that way.
Well,
I don't mean it that way, but
children are our financial responsibility.
Huge financial responsibility.
And that's why I had to try to tailor my class because everyone that I was teaching, they were all mothers or young mothers or mothers to be, and I had to realize that I was dealing with a different audience than the type of person than my situation. So I had to tailor it. So my main thing in terms of managing your finances, and I always say this all the time, is do what you can with what you have where you are. So if you can, if you save $5 a week for a long period of time, and then you put it in something where, you know, once you get more, you do a more sophisticated type of saving where you're getting a higher interest rate, and you just continuously do something like that, you can save a lot of money that way.
Right.
But you have to be consistent. Consistency is part. You can't keep dipping into it. You have to be consistent. Yes.
Yeah.
So then in your case, you need to put it someplace where you need to start with a sum that's large enough that you can put it somewhere where you can't get to it readily. Like, or that you will be penalized, like a CD or something like that, where they're going to take your interest if you take it out too early, and you don't want to. You really want to try not to do that.
But with those kind of accounts, you need to put in a large amount of money,
It
right?
depends. I think now they're starting some of them like $500, $1,000. So you can find some resources that. If it's not readily available. Mm-hmm. But the other part of it is if you work for a place where they take it. See, if you have to do it yourself, it's a little bit different. Like if you work for a company where they take it out before you see it, then that helps. That helps. But if not, then you have to develop the discipline to just do it yourself.
That's what I need, discipline. I don't have any discipline in almost anything in life. It's bad. I'm always like. I just go on impulse. You know what I mean? I don't. It's not a good thing sometimes, but sometimes it's okay.
Sometimes, sure. Because you probably have a lot of good experiences.
Yeah, that's true. I do.
Unexpected experiences.
And my friend used to always say the hilarious, tragic stories of moments in my life. I've always had the most random things happen, but it's funny. Not at the time it happens, but later on. Like, do you remember that time? I can't believe that happened. Like, stuff like that always happens to me. Now, also with the financial literacy that you educate to other people, do you also include like stocks and bonds and stuff like that?
It's interesting because I thought about that. I've tried investing. Mm-hmm. That's not my thing. It's just not my thing. I am right now. What I've done, the only investing I'm doing is I have a godchild now, and so I've decided that as these major stocks split, I'm just going to buy like one share for her because for 18 years, you really can, you can accumulate quite a bit of money that way. So I'm just picking as these stocks split. Like Tesla's getting ready to split on Thursday. So I'm going to probably buy a share of that for her. I've bought her a share of Google, a share of Facebook, as they, because if you can't afford them, I can't afford them otherwise. Mm-hmm. So, but when they do the stock split, you can just buy one share, 2 shares. You can do that now, and then you can start that way. I never was interested in stock because you really have to pay attention to that. Yeah. And unless you really want it, I tried options for a while. I really didn't. I just wasn't interested. So I have to do the more traditional ways of saving and just make that work for me.
My dad was always into stocks, so I gave him like $1,000 a few months ago. I want to say like 6 or 7 months, and he put in E-Trade, and he did. I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't know anything. I don't even know what the company was that he did it with, but I keep checking it, and it's like fluctuates. It hasn't gone over 2,000. It hasn't doubled or anything. It's just there, and I try to take my money back.
It depends on the time. Yes, it's a long. See, that's the thing. Investing is a long-term investment. Really, in order for it to be successful. And when things get bad and things get rough, you can't take your money out. You have to stick it out. And that's what actually happened to me when I really had a financial advisor years ago when they had the first crash. Mm-hmm. And she was telling me, you have to have the guts to stick. I'm like, I can't do this. Just give me my money back.
Right.
Because, I'm not. So investing is not, it's interesting, even though I'm very much into managing your finances. I don't do a lot with investment. And I also think that investing is a personal thing. I think you really need to teach yourself and invest in things that you're interested in. Yeah. And so that has never been a road that I've taken and really made any money with. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, investing is not my cup of tea either. And even when I did try to get that $1,000 back, they were only trying to give me like $40 or $60. I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm like, did I do something wrong? I was like, all right, let me just leave it. I don't even check it I check it like once a week or something. But
you don't even check it now. I wouldn't check it at all because the economy is so messed up.
It is.
You get so discouraged.
Yeah, I get angry every time I see like.
And that's why I keep thinking about my godchild. Okay, this is long range. It'll be fine, or it'll be better by the time she's interested in taking advantage of it. So
what kind of advice do you have for people who want to get their finances in order? Yeah.
Budget. You really need to sit down and figure out what your expenses are, what your income is. Mm-hmm. and make it, and if you're in, you have to make your expenses match your income,
Right.
because you can't, other than that, you're going to end up, in the hole. So you really have to figure out a way. But I always say with budgeting that you need to also add something fun or something for yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it can get to be, and that's what I mean about making it a game.
Okay.
I always talk about wants and needs. You talk about what you need and what you want. You should always have at least one want in there. And
Right.
then as you progress, you add more wants and dreams and, other things that you want to add to it. But the major thing, which I even learned when I started teaching the financial literacy course, is as one of your expenses, you have to have saving as an expense. You have to treat it as an expense, and from my perspective, you do that first. You save first before you do anything else.
Okay.
And then, you take care of the rest of it later. But if you take care of yourself first, pay yourself first.
That makes sense.
And then take care of the rest of it later.
I'm ashamed to say this, but I've opened up savings accounts multiple times, and ask me how many times I've let money just sit. I keep going into, I think I've closed all my savings accounts now. It's a shame. I really have no discipline. That's my problem. So I just gotta, because I always just want to have fun. I always just want to do things. So I just gotta stop my bad habits. That's the alcohol it does cost money, and I drink a lot. So, but I'm working on it. I'm really working on it. So I feel like once I stop most of my bad habits, that'll save me. And even
well, the thing is, see, now you're saying you're really trying to stop all of your bad habits. I think you need to cut them back. Start slowly.
Start slow.
And then, you'll find that it'll be easier to move on. Don't try to cut everything out at once, because then you're depriving yourself.
You're
and
right.
you don't want to deprive yourself. You want to that's why I said that, making it a game.
Yeah.
You want to make it fun. You want to make it so that when you reach those milestones, you really can be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
You've done that. But don't cut everything out.
That's true.
Just not going to work.
And then it doesn't work because you're like, you know what? I can't just go cold turkey. I got to do it in increments, I guess you could say.
So what I think you can do is just pick an amount that's reasonable.
Okay.
That, they say make those goals that you have to stretch for them, but they're not unreasonable. That
Right.
you can't. And then try to develop the discipline to just move forward and keep doing. Because the thing about money and compounding is you put it in and it makes money for you. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. You want to get your money to the point where it's making money for you.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would be nice. That would be very nice, because E-Trade ain't doing nothing for me right now. So, also, so we talked about financial literacy. Now, being an entrepreneur, how was that for you? Did you start young, or did you start later in life?
I kind of fell into entrepreneurship because my first job, the first business that I started, I was working for a temp agency, temporary and permanent. They did temporary and permanent placement, and the manager of the company was starting a new branch, and he told the woman and I that were working with him that if we built up the business, he would give us part ownership. And we built it up very quickly. We did a really good job, and then he came into the office one day and told us he sold the business. Yes, he sold the business. He said, but I took care of you because they're going to let you work for them. And I was like, oh, no, I don't think
What?
So my girlfriend and I, we left him, the other woman, we left, and we started our own business. We started our own placement firm, and we did really well. I think by the third year, we were doing like $1 million in sales. We were really doing well with it.
Wow.
And then a year or so later, I met a gentleman who had a larger firm, and he was going out around buying up smaller firms.
Mm-hmm. And this is staffing firms you're talking about?
Okay. We did accounting and finance.
Okay.
And that was good for me because I had an MBA in accounting, so I was able to talk the language with the people that we were working with. So that really worked out well. And so we decided to sell the business. And then once we did that, then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And I don't even remember what I did after that. But later on, my stepmother passed away, and then her sister passed away. The other reverse. Then her sister passed away, and then my stepmother passed away 7 weeks to the hour to the day from her sister.
What?
And they had all this furniture, and I took a refinishing furniture. I love wood, and it just came out so beautiful. I said, let me see what I can. So I started going around collecting stuff, going to garage sales and buying things, and so I opened a gallery. And I would do refinishing furniture, and then I learned the caning and weaving.
Wow.
And so I did that, like I said, for about 3 years. And so those were the two businesses that I had. But I also, after my husband died, I started a nonprofit. And I really feel like nonprofit is like a business too. Mm-hmm. So that felt like, I was running a business. So that felt like entrepreneurial in its sense too.
Yeah.
So I just kind of fell into some of the things that I do. But I have to have an interest. If you don't, if you're not interested,
it's not going to work.
It doesn't pique your interest, it doesn't work.
Yeah, right? You're going to hate it.
Like
going to
investing just never piqued my interest, so I just didn't do well with it.
It seems like the universe loves you. I mean, based off of what you're telling me in your story, I know it's not this easy, but it seems like everything fell into place for you in your life.
And that's one of the reasons why I started the nonprofit, because I've always felt like I've been able to do the things that I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I really thought that was something that was a gift.
Yeah.
And it's something that's why I always felt like I needed to give back in some way.
That's beautiful.
So a lot of the things that I've attempted to do, they've just worked out.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. And even starting with the whole education thing, I got the scholarship because I have a disability. And because of that disability, I was able to get a full scholarship for school. And I know people that are still my age that are still paying for their education.
That's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
It's been, I think I've been very fortunate.
So would you say that you've found your purpose in life? Like you've found your purpose in life?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think my purpose is being able to pass on the positive experiences I've had and hopefully they will help others to have, positive experiences as well.
Do you ever keep in touch with some of the mothers that you've worked with in the past?
I didn't really. Well, see, they were clients of the company, of the nonprofit, because they did work with distressed families in the community.
Okay.
So I don't really keep them. But I actually do have a relationship with some of the case managers that were working there. So a lot of times they still refer some people to me. Like I ended up helping this young lady get her finances together. And so I do a lot of that. So
I was asking you because the fact that you were helping these women or teaching them the financial literacy, you've changed lives and you don't even know how you've changed, or it's like it's like a gift and a curse. To me, I would want to know, but at the same time, it might be too much to know. You know what I mean? So it's always,
I think you just kind of keep moving on.
Yeah.
Just keep moving on and doing the best you can with with what you have. So
yeah.
I enjoy. I'm not about telling you what to do. Just kind of a little advice, a little, think about this, think about doing it this way, and
and take what you want from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully you'll take the good from it and apply it in life. Not like I did at the Kidpreneur conference, falling asleep in the cold classes, eating their foods and sandwiches.
Well, it wasn't your time.
It wasn't
It wasn't your time. It has to be in your time. And I was fortunate in that for some reason, I don't know why saving was important to me. I guess it was because of my parents. It must have been. I had to have come from somewhere.
It came from somewhere.
But I've always said, and I've always, because of that, been able to do the things that I wanted to do. And that's why I'm trying to encourage people to save, because retirement comes sooner than you think. Time goes by so fast, and I always would like to see people be able to be in the position where they can do what they want, when they want, when they retire.
Right.
And so my whole focus on the financial literacy is working towards retirement.
What do you say to people who I kind of still think this way, but I used to really think this way. Like, you're saving money all your life and you're working hard to save money your whole life. Some people might not even get to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, what if you say...
What you have to do is figure out ways to enjoy it as you're going along. You don't deprive yourself. You can't because if you constantly depriving yourself, then it's frustration.
Yeah.
So as you're doing it, you know, like I decided that I really wasn't interested in buying my first new car until I was in my 30s. So I bought my first new car, and I financed it for 5 years because it was 60 months there. And 2 months after I finished paying for it, this man hit it and totaled the car. So it was,
oh my God.
But that was, you know, I just said I'll wait until I'm in my 30s. That's when I want to get a car because, you know, I really want to try to, you know, make sure that I guess, and the other part of it was I married late in life. I was in my 40s when I got married. And I had been taking care of myself for so long that, you know, you get to a point where that's what you understand that you need to, nobody else is doing for you.
Right.
You have to do for yourself. So.
I'm in the same boat, man. Hopefully I'll get someone to get married soon. But, you know, I'm in the same boat. I've been living on my own for the last 10 years. So I'm used to handling things myself, you know. But hopefully I'll find someone to handle it for me.
No, you don't want to handle it for you.
Not for me, but you know, some things I do. Shoot.
No, you don't.
All right, fine.
You want a partner.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do things and grow together.
That's right. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And I think part of that did come from my parents because I think my parents I was only my sister and I, but they raised us to be independent. Mm-hmm. And I think that was very important. That was a very important lesson for me. Yeah. Because I think women should be independent. They should be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah. So my parents did the same. So I was glad I was able, you know, it's funny because in my early 20s, I was living with my parents. I had like little jobs. So I couldn't imagine myself having my own apartment. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that would be so weird. Not weird, but I just couldn't imagine it. Then eventually I started out with 2 of my best friends. I think I was like 26, 27. Then I moved in with a boyfriend. Then I moved back home. And then I finally got my own place. And I love it.
That's funny because I remember my father telling me, he said, you know, out of all my friends, I'm the only one that my children left home after college and never came back. They were out on their own. Now, I did go back. I went back for 2 weeks one time because I was living with my boyfriend and we got into this fight and he got on my nerves. And I called my father and asked him to come get me. And I stayed home for 2 weeks and then I just went back. But I've never gone back home and my sister didn't either.
Wow.
As a fact, my sister graduated from school. She moved to Chicago. She just moved out of state, period. So it's just... But I think that's the important thing is gaining the feeling of being independent. And it's really important.
It is. It's a beautiful thing, too, to be independent because you don't need to depend on anybody. So that's a good thing. We never mentioned the name of your blog.
It's called Literally Business.
Literally Business.
It's literallybusiness.blog, and it's based on the whole, you know, the business, entrepreneurship, managing your finances, and there's some nonprofit stuff in there, and then, like I said, just sometimes I just write about what I feel like writing about. So
okay, I mean,
the
it's
last
yours.
thing I wrote was actually in the slot for it's called Going Off Track, and I talk a lot about change. Mm-hmm. Because what caused me to think about it was I went to where I lived, there was a convenience store that had a post office in there, and I walked in there a couple of weeks ago and it was closed. And when I moved to Florida, it was there, and it has been there for I've been in Florida 17 years. So to just walk into some place that you're used to going, and I started thinking about change, and so I just wrote about change, you know, feeling, you know, different attitudes about when things change and why they change and how you react to it, that kind of thing. So it's kind of right about whatever comes to mind.
Well, that's why I started my podcast too. My first season, let me tell you, my first season was me drinking a little alcohol and like thinking like I want to talk, and then I just turn on my microphone or turn on my phone and just start talking. And it was just stuff that I wanted to vent about, not knowing it was actually people responding like, oh, I'm glad you talked about this too. So even if it's something random, you're still going to help somebody out in life, you know, or having something
thinking about.
Exactly. So that's still a good thing. And you have an outlet to go to whenever you just want to talk about anything.
And I can't believe that I've been doing this for 2 years. I think I'm approaching my 50th article.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
That's
and
amazing.
I still have so many other things that I want to write about because I jot down notes. Okay, I have to address this next time, and jot down notes about something else, or I'll hear something. Like I just heard, I was watching television with some friends I was visiting, and one of the actors said, and I'm going to write something about this. He said, "Gravity is not what grounds you; it's your family and friends." And I thought about that, and because
wow, that's nice.
I'm the last person. Everyone in my family is gone. I'm the only person left. I have my
Really?
sister, my father, everybody.
I'm sorry to
Everybody
hear that. Oh
is
my
gone.
gosh.
But I have long-standing friendships, and that's become my family. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I think that's the next thing that I'm going to try to, write something about.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness! I'm sorry to hear that.
It's a weird feeling, the end of the line,
Damn. But again, like you said, you have family here still. Like your
I have
friends that turn to
become
family. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything coming up that you're doing, or any classes? Do you do virtual classes, or?
I'm developing a class. I have not done it. I'm developing the first one that I want to do.
Okay.
Because I was doing it through WordPress, and I don't like the fact that in order to really comment, they make you sign on to WordPress. And I don't like that. I want people to be able to freely comment. So I figured if I do a website, and put the blog on there, then people can comment freely, and I can get conversations going a little bit easier.
That's good. I used to have a blog. I just 10 years ago, I used to blog, but I noticed I like to talk instead of write. I'm a talker because
I'm a writer. I will write. I can sit and write all day long.
No, and it was good content because I lived in Ghana. My family's from Ghana, so I lived in Ghana for 7 months, and so that's what I was doing the blog about. It was called my 30 on a Journey because I was 30 years old. So that was the name of it, and then I started. I stopped after that. I came back, and then a year or two later, I started My Lovely Lunatic Life blog, but I wasn't consistent because I'm like, I gotta write something now, blah, blah, blah. But now the podcast, since I love to talk, I'm like, I could do this all day, so it's so much better for me.
Well, I think it is a discipline because I decided with the blog that no matter what, every 2 weeks, I was going to put out an article, and before I knew it, 2 years had gone by. I was like, oh my God.
That's good.
So that's what I was doing with that, and I enjoy writing, so I've always enjoyed writing.
I've been a writer here and there, like for some internet magazines and stuff, but it wasn't my passion. I just was happy to be part of that magazine, so I would write. And I think I can write pretty well, except for the grammar and stuff like that.
Except for the grammar.
But the idea of it is good, so.
I want you to tell me a little bit more about what do you want your best life to look like when you're in retirement? What would you like your best life to look like?
I want my bank account stacked and living comfortable. So what I want to work on is saving. I want to work on saving money and work on my credit for sure. And I never really took credit seriously. My father was always he was always tough on credit. You need to do this, But I was just like, I don't think I want a house growing up. I don't want to, But then I'm like, it's more than just having a house. It's a lot of things come with building credit. Even relationships now, people are gonna not want to talk to you if your credit's not on par.
Well, not only that, jobs. They check your credit. It's a part of you. It's something that's a part of you. So you have to really, work on making it the best that it can be.
So that's what I want to work on. So would you say I would have to get one of those credit cards that come with a low minimum, or?
Well, you can do a couple of things. If you can't get a traditional credit card, what you would do now is get what they call a secured credit card. And what you do is you take your money, you put your money in that account, and then you spend your money and you pay it back. So like say you pay $300 in the account, so you now have a $300 limit. So you spend a portion of it, then you pay it back that month. You pay it back.
So you just keep
yourself.
Okay.
And then after you've done that for a while, and the credit card companies see that you're paying yourself back and you're doing it in a disciplined manner, that's when you can get a traditional credit card.
Okay. So basically, when you're paying it back, it's just like you're reloading the card too.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're reloading the card basically. But the thing that's good about that, and I always advise people, if you get a secured credit card, if you started with $300 and you do what you're supposed to do, when they give you a traditional card, you take that $300 and you save it.
Oh, true,
don't use it, don't say, oh, now I've got $300 I can spend.
That would have been me.
That you put that money in your savings. You try to find ways to save. When you get your income tax, you put some money aside. You don't do everything else my attitude is pay yourself first.
Yeah.
And by saving, that's what you're doing. You're paying yourself. So every time an opportunity or money comes along, take care of yourself first.
And I think I would use it just to be like, because I know myself, maybe for my Uber drivers or Lyft.
Things like that, just to build up your credit.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Once you've done that, like some of them are 6 months and some of them a little longer. And if you do that successfully, then you can get a traditional credit card.
How long, okay, say if your credit was 500 or something like that, and you're consistent with trying to build your credit and work on it, how many years? Does it take years, like 5 years, 4 years?
Well, I think the thing you need to do is you have to use the credit. Use your credit cards wisely, and the more wisely you use them, the faster your credit will grow. And credit is like money. To me, having credit is a savings because you get lower interest rates on everything. If you have bad credit, your interest rates on everything you try to do is much higher.
Yeah, I know.
And if you have good credit, then you're saving money.
True, that's true.
I look at good credit as a savings account, really.
Don't they say though, if they don't want you to pay? I don't know if it's true, but they don't want you to pay like as soon as you charge the card because it's not going to help your credit or something like that. Is that true?
No. Once as long as you pay it by the due dates, you're fine. And some things they say, well, you don't want to close a credit, like you don't want to open a credit account and then close it. You want to leave it open even if you've paid it off because it shows that you've paid something off. See, people think that, I'll open this account and then I'll close it. But you don't want to close it. You want to leave it open so that people can see that you pay your bills.
Right.
And the key thing basically is paying on time, paying before it's due. And also with a traditional credit card, and they don't tell people this, you should never spend more than 30% of the amount that they give you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it'll be harder for you to try to pay it back.
Yeah,
right?
It really shows up on your credit as a mark against you if you spend more than the amount. So it's to me, I think that's very unfair. I mean, it's just because you just have to learn the tricks of the trade, basically.
Yeah.
Because you get a $5,000 credit card, you think you have $5,000, and you do. But if you spend it, then your credit.
Yeah.
So and nobody tells you these things. You have to kind of learn them the hard way,
My first credit card, of course, I got it in college. I went to Bahamas with my friends. Every other day I was going to the ATM to take money out in Bahamas with a credit card. Man, when I tell you when I got home, I got that by the statement. I was like, holy God. That was my first
wake up call.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you have to use them wisely. And now what you want to do is you do want to get to the point that you want a traditional card because so many of the cards now have rewards programs.
Yes.
So they give you back. I think every year I get at least $200 because my credit is really good. It's in the 800s.
Oh, wow.
So I use my credit. But what I do is I charge everything. And again, that's a discipline thing. Because you charge it, but you got to pay it. You have to pay it. You don't charge more than what you can pay at the end of the period.
That's
and once you start doing something like that, so I usually accumulate a couple of $100s a year just in the rewards, and then I just put it in the bank.
I'm glad you mentioned that because when you asked me how do I want to improve my finances, I will also want to be able to have free vacations because I use my credit card all the time. I hear that all the time with the rewards, and I'm like, that's what I want to travel.
Yeah, but you need to get at that. If that's the case, then you're going to have to get to the point that you're really charging everything.
Yeah,
you're really charging, and then once you're charging everything, you have to be able to pay it off at the end of the month.
So how long, from the point of where I do a secure card to the point of where I get to be able to get like maybe a hotel room for free with the card, with the
points?
points?
I don't know, because I've never used my credit cards. I never do them for free. I do them for the money. I do them for the cash rewards, and then I can do what I want to.
Okay.
So I don't do the travel things. I don't do the free hotels. I don't do any of that stuff. Just give me the money.
I know that's right.
And I can do what I want with
right.
it. And most times the money that I get from I save it. And I tell people, when you get that's one thing in the class I taught. I just ask everybody, what did you do when you got your income tax this year?
Don't look at me. I haven't got my income tax in years because of my student loans. Okay.
But and you know that well, and then of course they're families. So you buy stuff for your kids. You catch up your bills. You do everything. I say all of that's fine, but take something off the top right away and put it in your savings.
That's true.
And then if you get any kind of, people get lump sum, like for example, when my husband passed, one of his cousins called me up and told me that he was in the, they have those listings in the paper where the people have money in the bank they don't know about, their savings accounts or whatever.
Yeah,
his name was on that list. And so I followed up with it, and it turned out that he had some account somewhere. Had about $900 in it.
Wow.
And I got that $900, and then you think, I don't have anything. If I didn't have this $900, I'd still be able to pay my bills.
Right. So
put
you
it
save
in your savings.
You're so responsible.
Put it in your savings.
Yeah.
And like I said, you make a game out of it, and it's fun after a while because you're challenging yourself to do what you need to do.
Right. So it takes a lot of consistency. Dedication,
patience,
and patience.
Patience.
Oh, that's another thing I don't have. There's a lot wrong with me. You see this, right? This is why I can't save. Oh my goodness.
You'll figure it out. You want to be able to make sure that when you get older that you can take care of yourself.
Yeah, and that's
because especially even people with children now, your children are not going to be able to take care of you when you get older. You need to be able to figure out how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the biggest thing for saving. And then I always wanted to be able to do what I want to do when and I've been fortunate in that even through my life with saving and everything else, I've managed to be I think it also depends on what how material you are. You said you're not material, and I think that's great because that gets a lot of people in trouble. I always think about that. The more rocks you carry up the hill, the heavier the load. But if you're not a materialistic person, that really helps a lot too.
I don't want to even pay $50 for a bag, or sneakers. Like I'm a cheapskate, okay? I like nice things, but I'll find the cheaper version of it.
I am definitely a discount shopper. I shop in discount stores. I buy everything on sale.
Yeah, I try to.
Everything that I buy is going to be on sale.
My father taught me that too because, he always made good money, but he'd be the first one to go and shop somewhere to get a less, for a bargain, And we used to make fun of him, but he knew what he was doing. We wanted Nikes. We'd go to the Reebok in Secaucus, the Reebok outlet. You know what I mean? And we'd complain, but I understand now. He knew what he was doing.
Because you can get almost everything that you want at a price that you want it if you look around.
If you look for it, right.
Look around and shop for it. And especially if you don't have, like people tickle me. One of the guys in the class that I was teaching once asked me if I was a millionaire. And I was like, I am so far from a millionaire. But I'm at the position where when I want to do something I can, that's it. You want to get to a point where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Get to a point where you're comfortable, and that's really what's important. So, and I think about that. They always talk about the difference between being rich and wealthy. Wealthy to me is being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it,
at any cost, or it doesn't even have to be at any cost. Well,
whatever it is, if it's something that you can do it. If it's something that you want to do when you want to do it. To me, that's being wealthy. That's not rich. Rich is like having lots of money. I don't have lots of money, but I manage what I do have well, and that's what you need. That's the thing that people need to learn, is to manage what you have.
That's true.
Yeah,
you hear that, folks? Manage what you have, and I'm taking that advice too. I like that. Yeah. Right now, it's not much to manage, but soon come.
Decide. I think you should just decide on an amount that you can save easily. That doesn't, just start.
Yeah.
And then put it in an account. I suggest in your case you do something that you can't you'll be penalized for if you really go in like a CD or something like that. So start with because they have some now. They didn't before, but now I've seen that they have some that you can, get a year, and then after a year, you're not even thinking. Hopefully,
right?
You're not even thinking about it.
Right.
You're just consistently saving. So that's the thing. That's the key.
Yeah.
Yep. Just be able to save what you can when you can, and not be a strain.
Yeah.
Be a big strain on you. We have started a Facebook page. It's called Handling Your Business.
Okay.
And we talk about working on goals and ways to keep yourself going, and just getting people to just talk about the things that they want to get, what they want to do, and how they want to get there, and practicing good management, either life management habits or your business or whatever. So it's just basically about trying to reach your goals.
Okay, and that's on Facebook? It's already open for the public,
Handling
right?
your business.
Okay. That's good to know. So they got a lot of gems today on this podcast, and you can also find some more gems on Facebook, Handling Your Business. And I'm so happy you came on, Miss Brenda.
And don't forget the blog, which is literallybusiness.blog.
Literally, I missed the Y.
Literallybusiness.blog. And then when I change over to the website, we've actually changed it to literallybusiness.life.
Okay.
So that's going to be the new website.
And again, this was the first time that she's been on a radio show, so I feel so honored. And I appreciate it.
I appreciate your patience with me.
Oh, you were excellent. You were excellent.
Yeah.
So guys, this is it for this episode of My Lovely Lunatic Leo Life podcast. Again, welcome Miss Brenda Hargroves.
Thank you.
And we will see you again next week, guys. Take care. So you felt comfortable. See? You said I was like, you were a natural. I make people feel comfortable on this show. You were a natural. I didn't see any shyness at all.
When I start talking about that, I can have those conversations.
Oh my God, I feel so tall compared to you. I feel like
I'm sure all of my is in my leg.
Oh my God, I was like, wait a minute.
I drive my car. People think there's nobody driving.